As a manager of research and insights, Drew's visited dealerships, from coast to coast to understand the problems and the opportunities facing the car business. He tackles these issues by studying car buyers, and his insights are routinely featured in industry publications, conferences, and on multiple published studies related to consumer behavior and business performance. With that said, we're really glad that you guys joined us. I'll hand it over to Drew to present his latest research. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Charles, for the great introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's really neat being able to have everyone here on Zoom. So, even though we're all separate and unable to gather, we can still have a pretty great audience and hopefully have a great seminar today. So what we're going to be talking about today, as Charles said, was dealership innovation opportunities. And where all of this research comes from is CARFAX Canada's Driving Insights program. And what Driving Insights is it's an information series designed to really help used car dealers understand the motives and behaviors of used car buyers. And all of the research is done in-house by CARFAX Canada. It's executed by a company we use called Dynata. Is based on questions that came to us from the management of car dealerships all across Canada. So as Charles was saying before, in order to figure out what to research, I don't like to sit at my desk in London, Ontario, or currently sit in my my living room in London, Ontario, and think that I know the industry and I know what you want to hear about. So I have actually gone from St. John's to Vancouver, visiting tons of dealerships and sitting down with dealership management to understand what's on your mind. And then we take those questions and we go out and we actually do the research as well. That being said, too, if you have any questions that we haven't addressed yet and that aren't here, I am always looking for more research topics. So please, ask whatever you feel is relevant, and I'll be happy to try to help. In terms of raw numbers, we've actually surveyed over 3,000 used car buyers at this point, understanding their purchase experience and what they're looking for, visited 106 dealerships, and sat down with 130 dealership managers. The result of which we have published into 15 articles. There's lots more to come in 2020 as well. You can find everything on carfax.ca/insights. And in the near future as well, we're working to expand our reach a little bit from the used market to actually include new car buyers as well. So keep an eye out for that, as we'll be continuing to grow our program. So let's jump right into it. Dealership innovation opportunities. 3 questions that we are looking into as part of this research. First, is it time to start selling cars online, and what do your customers think? And of course, this question is even more relevant right now because we exist in this market situation where car sales are required to be completed with minimal contact, right? But what's actually going on here? What is the customer's perspective on this? Because of course, there's a big difference between somebody going and buying a car online and having it delivered to their house because they want to, versus somebody is just doing it because that's the only option they have. So we're going to dig into that a little bit because I think there's some insights there you could really use. Second, of course, asking customers if they'd like to pick their car, if they'd like to pick their salesperson in addition to picking their car. I mean, we spend a ton of time doing vehicle research. Why not pick a salesperson? And third, is it time to actually go and adopt a no-haggle, one-price approach? And what I just ask everyone is I'm going to be happy to take all the questions you've got, but we'll just wait until the end of the presentation to get into those questions. If you want to make sure you get them out right away, feel free to throw them into chat. And again, I'm always looking for new research topics. So if there's something that I can't necessarily answer right now, well, you know what? We'll take it as a question. We'll go and do the research and hopefully be able to get you some answers. So innovation opportunity number 1, should I start selling cars online? And what do your customers actually think about it? And of course, this research was done, I think it was done late last year. So obviously the numbers may be a little different right now in a COVID environment, but I think the insights still really stand out. So pre-COVID, what we were finding was 43% of used car buyers are going to go and find the exact vehicle they want online, down to the unit. They're going to find that exact vehicle online before ever going into the dealership. But when we actually go to used car buyers and we ask them before in our pre-COVID buying environment, okay, you've got a choice on the next vehicle you're purchasing. You can either go and buy your next vehicle completely online, have it show up at your door, everything taken care of, or you can go through the current experience, which is, you're going to go into the store, you're going to look at cars, negotiate, handle everything there. What would you pick? And what we actually learned was at that time, only 12% of used car buyers were coming out and telling us that they want to buy their next car online. The vast majority are saying that they still want to be in the dealership. And I think this is really, really important for us to consider right now, because this number is probably still true. I would bet you that only 12% of people still want to buy their cars online. But what we're seeing is a situation where people are almost being forced to do more of the activity online, right? So what are customers looking to get out of the dealership experience exactly? Why do we still have so many customers who really just want to buy from the dealership? So in terms of the value of the dealership, what we were finding is, used cars are still used cars, right? And the most common reason to want to go through the typical buying process, the way it operated several months ago, was that car buyers just really want to see the vehicle that they're buying in person. And in second place, shortly behind that, they want to make sure they can get behind the wheel and test drive the vehicle. I think one of my favorite phrases is always that there's no used car factory. If somebody goes and buys a new vehicle and there's some sort of issue with it, they can take the one beside it. It's exactly the same. But when it comes to buying something used, the unit is so important. And that's why we see customers really still continue their interest in going into the dealership to actually see a vehicle. And third, we saw that half of customers still want actually just to ask a salesperson some questions about the vehicle that they're interested in. And this one, it wasn't fourth, but I wanted to leave it in because I know I've shown a couple people this stat and they don't believe it, but 1 in 4 used car buyers told us that, you know what, they just like visiting the dealership. They still appreciate the dealership experience and they'd like to do that. So translating this into our current environment, right? And the challenges that we are experiencing when trying to do vehicle sales with essentially minimal in-person contact between a customer and the dealership. Well, the top priorities for a customer's dealership experience are seeing the car in person and getting behind the wheel. So if you're in the position right now where you're trying to figure out how do we actually adopt to this new environment when actually several dealerships I'm talking to lately have been telling me that they have appointments booked for weeks. So how do you maximize that time, right? When you can only bring in a couple customers into the store at a time? Well, focus that in-store experience on the customer's interaction with the vehicle. That's what they're really looking for out of the dealership experience. Of course, the opportunity to ask some questions as well is important. And then try to do other things with no contact. So, negotiation and items like that. Because there were, even though when customers didn't want to buy completely online, we did find that quite a few of them already pre-COVID wanted to do some of the buying experience online, right? So what we found is about 1 in 3 customers were telling us they want to negotiate online. Pretty much 1 in 3 wanted to see some options for warranties, and about the same number wanted a way to determine their trade-in value as well. So when building out these online strategies, make sure you're flexible to how much a customer can actually do online. And these are some of the more desired items here. And really, the whole goal out of this is in building out an online purchase experience is, so right now, we're not seeing a ton of customers are saying they really want this. They're kind of being squeezed into it. So if you can build out this sort of flexible hybrid process that's going to allow your used car buyers to, right now complete as much as possible online, then use the amount of time they can get in the dealership to see the vehicle. Making that process flexible to accommodate the process being online and offline will then continue to work in the future as, let's say, your dealership opens up. Well, you'll still be able to help these 1 in 3 customers that want to negotiate online because you've built out that process and you're flexible to their needs. So overall, when it comes to should we be selling cars online and what do customers think? We're in a situation right now where customers are being dragged into buying online. They told us several months ago that they weren't that interested in it, but unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options right now. So what you should consider when building out your processes, make sure you have a hybrid approach that allows for online and offline. And then that way, when we do return to a more normal environment, that process can still continue working to sell vehicles at that time. And you'll be ready for when customers can come back into the store, or if they just want to buy online as well. All right, let's jump into the second topic here, switching gears a little bit. Should we be letting customers pick their salesperson? And this topic, it's not one that comes up very often, but as soon as you start to learn a little bit more about the rationale for, say, a dealer sitting down with me and going, Drew, should I be letting our customers pick their salesperson? It suddenly starts to make a ton of sense. Because right now, how much time is a customer spending doing research before they go into a dealership to look at a vehicle? It's anywhere from 10 to 15 hours over the course of 30 to 90 days. Buying cycles can even go longer than that, right? So the customer's doing all of this work to figure out the exact car for them. And then suddenly when it comes to the point they're going to interact with the dealership, which is crucial, well, they play salesperson roulette. So we found that 2 out of 3 used car buyers were telling us that when they actually went to the dealership to work on the purchase of their vehicle, the person who they ended up selling their vehicle to them was basically either the person who picked up the phone first or was standing at the door first. So the customer's done all this work to pick a vehicle, and they're just going to meet their sales rep by chance. And we've seen research in the past where one of the first studies we did was trying to understand why people leave the dealership without actually telling you why they're leaving. And customers having an issue with the salesperson was actually one of the top concerns. So there is a bit of risk to doing this, and actually there's a ton of benefits to helping customers find the right salesperson. And I will tell you about that in a second. So when we ask customers, okay, are you ready for a change? Do you want to pick your sales rep? We found that 3 out of 4 used car buyers were telling us that next time they buy a vehicle, they would be interested in picking their sales rep. So there is absolute customer demand for this. They've done the research on the car. Let's help them build the right relationship. But perhaps most importantly, what's the value going to be to you here, right? Because this would be extra work. I know that for a lot of dealerships as well, there's certain processes that have been in place for potentially decades for how sales reps are given customers, and this could be extremely disruptive. But what we actually learned was we went to these customers and said, okay, well, if you could pick your sales rep, what benefits would it have for you? And what they actually told us was that they are going to be more open to listening to that sales rep's recommendations. They are going to be more comfortable visiting the dealership, and they're actually going to spend a little bit less time researching vehicles online. So the whole so what of all this is if we can develop a process to allow a customer to pick their sales rep, that customer is going to be interacting with your dealership faster. They're going to be more comfortable with your dealership and the salesperson. And I think that number one there, 76% of people would be more open to listening to the salesperson's recommendations. This is going to completely help you with your sales. They're going to trust the salesperson. They're going to be open to listening to them. This is a massive opportunity for dealerships here. But what do customers actually want from their salesperson, right? So, it's one thing to say, okay, they like to pick, but what criteria are they here actually picking on? And we found absolute number one reason or number one thing a customer wants when they're going to go out and they're going to pick their sales rep is they want to make sure that sales rep is knowledgeable about the vehicle that the customer is interested in. So they want to, if they're going to a Honda store to buy a Civic, they want to make sure that first person they see is they're a Civic expert or an expert in whatever they've got or whatever they're interested in, versus having somebody who maybe they don't know if they're knowledgeable and they don't know of their background or expertise in the vehicle that they want. Beyond that, we found that needs do vary by individual. Not everybody came out and had the exact same need from the salesperson. Again, which sort of shows that there is opportunity for a variety of different salespeople. It's not like we're all just looking for one certain type of vehicle expert. Someone speaking their native language came up quite frequently. Having somebody with lots of experience selling vehicles came up quite frequently as well. Although actually to that, some customers wanted somebody who was new. They wanted, a new innovative approach, so they would pick that route. So again, it's not like we're going to limit the most experienced experts here. There's still a ton of opportunity. And third, a common one was someone in a similar living situation. So, I picture when I'm in a dealership, I'm going and looking at the cars, maybe when I'm waiting to meet with someone. My understanding and ability to tell someone about a new Telluride, like 3-row SUV, is going to be very limited because I don't have any kids or family or stuff to throw in the back. So somebody who's in buying that kind of vehicle would really appreciate the sales rep who also has 3 kids and can tell you about, yeah, it's so easy just fitting everyone in and everything. It works out great. That was another really key opportunity. And then finally, how do we actually end up implementing this, right? And we asked our used car buyers, so we gave them a whole ton of different options. And what we actually found was they were most interested in picking a salesperson online. And this could have happened in one of 2 ways for the customers. The first was they were interested in this idea of some sort of tool that asks a couple questions about the customer's needs and then provides them, hey, here's a recommended person based on X, Y, and Z. The second option, because of course that kind of tool would require a bit of development. I haven't built it yet. I'm not sure if anyone else has yet, but if they do, it will be quite popular. The second one would just be allowing customers to choose based on some biographies of your salespeople. And what I think would be the best way to execute on this, and what I would love to see, is you go to a ton of dealership websites and you're seeing pop-ups and chatbots saying, hey, you got any questions? Can we help you out? Well, what if that chatbot, instead of just saying a generic message, say, hey, I see you're looking at a Civic today. We have 3 Civic experts. Would you like to talk to one? And that actually, we know that customers are looking for experts. So now we're creating the opportunity to not just have a generic conversation, but we're actually moving them through the funnel where they're going to be connected to a salesperson who they've actually come out and said they'd like to speak with. And it's just a very natural fit. So in short, there is really a great opportunity to start matching customers with salespeople. Customers want it. It will make them more comfortable working with their salesperson. It will help them interact with the dealership faster. And really, this sort of thing could be set up as a great way to move a customer who's looking at a listing to a customer who has an appointment. And number 3, our third innovation opportunity today is, should I adopt a no-haggle approach? And again, when I'm out visiting dealerships, I have been to dealerships who do no-haggle. I have been to dealerships who are practically no-haggle. They just don't advertise as that, but their prices are rock bottom already. But what exactly is the strategy when it comes to marketing yourself as a no-haggle dealership? And really what's happening here too, from a customer's perspective, is anytime we ask about what are the pain points of buying a car, right? Customers are always coming out and telling us, oh, negotiation. The process drives them crazy. It takes too long. So no haggle just seems like an obvious choice based on that. And from the dealer perspective, I'm regularly hearing that in today's online listing environment, there really isn't much room left for negotiation. So when your vehicles are already priced so aggressively, you're probably not negotiating much anyway. So does it make sense just to take that final step and be no haggle? Well, just like our online car buyers, we actually took them the same question and said, or a similar question and said, all right, you got to pick. Next vehicle you're going to buy, and these are people who, keep in mind, just went through buying a car as well, right? So they have negotiation fresh in their mind. Next vehicle you want to buy, would you prefer no haggle, or would you still like to negotiate? And only 27% actually came out and told us that they would like to pick a no haggle dealership. So this was a bit of a surprise because we would have thought this would have been higher. Now, mind you, 27% of the market is still a huge chunk of the market. It is more than a niche. It is a great opportunity. I mean, a strategy that still hits 1 in 4 people is excellent, but it's a bit of a surprise as to why it's so low. So actually, let's dig into that a bit, right? Why do customers still want to negotiate in spite of the fact that they keep telling us it's such a pain point? Well, when we went and actually asked these car buyers, okay, well, why do you want to negotiate? We found that, and this was even among people who said they'd prefer no-haggle, 77% came out and they're telling us that they believe there is always room to negotiate, even when a dealership has branded itself as no-haggle. 63% of used car buyers are telling us that they have to haggle in order to get the best price. And 71% just don't believe when dealerships say that they're going to give the buyer the best price right away. And even personally, just looking through online forums that are oriented for people in the car business, there's always people who are buying vehicles from no-haggle dealerships that show up and post saying, hey, I went to this dealership because they had the best price and they said they're no-haggle, but really, how much can I negotiate? And of course, all the salespeople are like, what do you mean? They said they're no-haggle, isn't it? But yeah, customers just aren't really trusting of the process yet. So what needs to happen actually is building trust with customers over price. And what we actually found was the way to handle ending negotiations and ending really long negotiations, whether you are going to brand yourself as a no-haggle dealership or you're, just you have great pricing and there really isn't room for negotiation anyways. Car buyers are telling us that price really just needs to be discussed, even at a no-haggle dealership. And what used car buyers told us they really want to see is, first, they want that outside market view of how your vehicle is actually going to measure up to other comparable vehicles online. And then second, they want a bit of that kind of inside view of anything that you may have done in-house that may have changed the price of the vehicle. And I think actually that's a huge opportunity as well when it comes to looking at used vehicles and, of course, picking one unit over another. You can often have things like the tires being much newer or the brakes being replaced on a certain car that really does add a ton of value to a customer, right? Because new tires and new brakes are $2,000 in the customer's pocket. That's a massive difference. So really what customers want is outside view, give them some price comparables, and B, that inside view of what you've done to really show that there is value in the vehicle. So unfortunately, we're not at the place right now where customers are truly ready to go to a no-haggle best price. Yep, here's my credit card, here's the financing application, let's do this. You still need to talk to them about price, but you can change that conversation to justification. That being said, there is a bit of nuance to this, right? Because we do exist in a world where you can pull out the invoice price on a brand new car and then go find that same customer online leaving a review saying, they pulled out some fake invoice. I know they've got the real one in the back. Actually, I was just looking at some reviews for a very successful no-haggle dealership. And in the reviews, some people are saying, and by some, like very few, but it's still there, that the customer or the dealership is using fabricated market reports with cars that don't exist. So one of the big challenges here with valuing vehicles and dealership tools in general is there are a lot of things that are industry standards to us and on our side of the desk that are really unknown to our customers. So however you're having that conversation about price justification, an equally important step in building trust is making sure that the customer is comfortable with the tool you're using, or the references you're using, or the listings you're using, or however it is you want to do it. Because if the customer is looking at your prices saying, I don't understand where these came from, you're already going to be in a bit of trouble there. Whereas if they see something they actually recognize, you can build on that kind of shared trust and justify the price based on that. So that actually covers the 3 topics we were getting into today. And so just to quickly reiterate, in terms of dealership innovation opportunities, is it time to start selling online? We are in a position right now where we have to do a lot more online, but customers just a few months ago were saying they were not ready for it. And we have to make sure that we're ready to basically provide some of the aspects of the dealership experience, like the test drive. And ideally, if you want to be ready for the long term, build a hybrid approach that allows customers to decide what they do online. In terms of customers wanting to pick their salesperson, yes, if you can do this, absolutely do it. It'll make customers be more interested in interacting with your dealership. They'll trust your salesperson more. There is really a great opportunity here. And then third, is it time to adopt a no-haggle, one-price approach? Well, here it doesn't matter if you want to be no-haggle and one price. That's fine. If you would like to just have low pricing or competitive pricing or whatever works for you, that's also fine. The key is to avoid negotiation. You need to shift the conversation away from the head-to-head. I think this. I think this. Here's what we'll meet in the middle somewhere. To a conversation about justification, where it's based on resources and sources that everyone can know and trust. So at this point, I would be happy to take any questions, and I will answer them as best I can. And if you have any questions related to other topics as well, we're always happy to take on more research opportunities and go and look into them. If you want to put them in the chat, that's fine. If you want to open your microphone, I think we'll allow for that too.
I see one of the questions, Drew, from Stefan. Do you have any data for customer receptiveness to virtual test drives?
I haven't actually seen anything on that yet, but I can do a bit of digging. I've seen some research come out recently on what's going to bring people into the dealership. Actually, no, I'm not seeing anything about virtual test drives. So unfortunately, I don't have anything on that, but I will keep an eye out for it and get back to you if I find anything, even from other sources. I'm always trying to keep an eye open.
Yeah, another one from Asif on the phone here says, have you seen some streamline efforts and processes with regards to the transition and transfer of trust from sales to finance? So again, have you seen any streamline efforts and processes with regards to the transition and transfer of trust from sales to finance?
Yeah, so in terms of what I have seen personally in my interactions with dealerships, I have seen more of a focus on streamlining that process as well. I've seen some fairly innovative dealerships even organizing sales and finance into teams where the commissions can often be shared between the group. So it'll incentivize the salesperson to kind of tee up the process for the F&I team. I know a classic story I hear from car buyers is, the salesperson tells you how great the car is, and then you go to F&I and suddenly it's going to fall apart tomorrow. So I have seen some really great efforts where they've aligned the sales team and the finance team, so they're both benefiting from sales and finance, and that really does streamline the process.
Yeah, and just on that topic, something else I've seen, I've had a chance to visit some of the new kind of standalone Cadillac stores in Calgary and here in Ontario, and you see the salesperson is kind of really handling everything. Stores have kind of really looked at what are our most profitable and high selling warranties, and then really training the salespeople on how to sell that product, just to keep the customer with one person from start to finish. Another question we have here, Drew, is from I think it's from let's look here, from Ben Moffitt. Hey Drew, we're a no-haggle store, not currently charging admin fees. We use the justification of not charging fees to help us sell at our one price, best price. We are considering bringing back an admin fee but not sure how that will affect our justification. What do you think?
Well, so thinking of what customers are looking for when it comes to that conversation about price justification, there's the two views thereafter, right? Is they want to understand how this vehicle is a good value in the marketplace, and how anything you've done to add value to that vehicle. So if the admin fee links into that conversation, I think if you can make that work, that could work within a justification conversation. But I don't know how that would work for the vehicle's value comparing to other vehicles online or anything like that. Yeah, I guess show value and justify if you can, but I know admin fees can be a bit of a challenge from a customer's perspective. So that may be a more delicate conversation than having to say, well, we're talking about new tires and brakes and things like that.
Great. Another one I see here is would there be an opportunity to enhance the staff listings pages, to personalize the bio profile and direct customers to the page to pick their preferred sales reps? I think some of you may have had some experience or have already adopted this.
And yeah, absolutely. With updating the bio pages to show where certain sales reps have expertise, to show living situation, languages spoken, things like that can help connect the customer with the sales rep. I mean, this is a major purchase. Building that personal relationship is a huge opportunity to help actually sell the vehicle, and of course probably sell that customer a lot more vehicles in the future. So yeah, even just starting with the bio pages would be a great way to do it.
All
Anyone
right.
else? Well, I think if that's all of our questions today, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So I'm always reachable. Go to carfax.ca/insights if you want to read more of this research. I'm always happy to answer questions or dig more into the data, whatever you need. And if there's any new topics that we didn't cover, just let me know and we'll hopefully get to them in some future research. So Charles, I'll pass things back to you.
That's great, Drew. Thanks for your time, and thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join our call. We really appreciate it, and we're hopeful that this will all pass soon, and we can take kind of the learnings we've garnered from this situation and apply to our future business to help continue to grow the automotive industry. So thank you so much for your call, and have a good rest of your day.